Cold calling is without a doubt the most effective outreach strategy for securing meetings, bar none. And the reason why is because the competition is so low. So why do people shy away from it? Well, to be honest, the average Joe is pretty lazy. They'd much rather hide behind a computer screen sending emails or DMs. And companies get sent tens of DMs and emails every single day. And I'm not here to bash those strategies because they have their place in a well-rounded, sales-driven business. But the facts remain true. Cold calling will have the highest conversion rate on securing sales meetings and sales opportunities for your business, regardless of your niche. The reasons why the majority don't do it, outside of being lazy, you might be thinking, Jordan, I'm not lazy. I've just tried and I didn't get results. It didn't work out for me. Or maybe you were just riddled with fear and you're scared of what's going to happen when you pick up that phone and handle objection day in, day out. So in today's video, I'm going to provide you with everything you need to overcome those two core challenges. And by the end of it, you'll learn all the techniques you need in order to improve your cold calling ability and land at least 10 times more sales opportunities from the same amount of dials. This is without a doubt the most valuable cold calling video you will ever find on the YouTube platform. So let's get stuck into it. So this is the cold calling masterclass and we're going to cover these 10 points. Now I want to start off by stipulating I have made tens of thousands of cold calls over the years. I've closed millions upon millions in revenue and I've mentored thousands of other people and helped them close lots of revenue for their own businesses, regardless of their niche, regardless of their offer, their service, etc. Okay, this will apply to you if you're in a sales-driven business that demands you to go out and get sales opportunity, okay, and offer your product or service. So these are the 10 things we're going to cover. Understanding and overcoming fear, first of all. Mindset and preparation. Pre-call priming process. Mastering tonality. The opening technique, your value proposition, creating dialogue, objection handling, securing the meeting, and how to improve daily. I'm going to offload my brain onto you guys right now, and we're just going to get stuck into it because we've got a lot of things to cover today. So we start off with understanding and overcoming fear. I think the first thing we need to do is understand the fear of cold calling. It is completely normal to be riddled with fear when it comes to calling. Because if we strip it all back and think about what is actually happening, we are dedicating time in our day to be told no again and again and again in the hope that we get told yes. And human beings really don't like being told no, okay? It's not a very nice feeling, especially if we haven't been exposed to that repetition of no's in a sales-driven environment before. So it's completely okay. And even with myself, as I said to you, I've made tens of thousands of successful cold calls. But if I take you back to my first ever sales job, I remember walking into that office. I just got kicked out of university. I was in tons and tons of debt. And here I was, all these people around me making cold calls. And I was expected to make over 150 calls every single day. I was riddled with fear. I'd never done it before. I didn't know what to expect. And I remember taking my script and walking to the edge of the office and shaking. And my voice was trembling as I was on the call, but I knew the only thing that was going to get me out of debt was my ability to be able to get better on the phones. And those are the things we're going to cover today. But I overcome that fear. And over time, I was one of the top performers inside that company. And that laid the foundation for me starting my marketing agency, which I've now built, which made me a multi-millionaire by the age of 25 years old. Okay? And you can do the same thing for yourself if you overcome this fear and you understand it's completely normal to be afraid of failure. But what is not okay is to allow yourself to be so consumed by fear that you don't give yourself the opportunity to push through it, because everything you want to achieve is on the other side of that fear barrier. Okay, so we need to acknowledge, let's do this, acknowledge the fear. Okay, it's okay to be afraid, so we have to accept that and we have to know it's part of the process. And we are going to make the commitment to ourselves to overcome that fear. It is very natural, okay? Now, one thing we can do is identify the triggers. Okay, so we have to identify in ourselves what that fear relates to. Are you afraid of rejection? Are you afraid of failure and how you will feel about yourself when you get a no? Are you afraid of handling objections and not knowing what to say? So identify the triggers, write them down. What are you most afraid of? What is the worst case scenario? Okay. And then on the other side to that, write down potential solutions to those problems. For example, if we're afraid of overcoming objections and not knowing to handle a specific objection that we're given, okay, what are the things that we could say to overcome that? Be prepared in advance, and if you're prepared, then you'll be able to overcome those fears initially. Okay, we must understand that sales is a numbers game. This is a numbers game, whether you like it or not. I'd love to say to you guys that all of you are going to make your first 10 calls and get yourselves meetings, okay? For some of you might, but for the majority of you, you're probably going to struggle for the first batch of calls, and that's absolutely okay, because sales is a numbers game, and there's one thing to be learned. It's that with every single call, you will make micro improvements, and it's not about what happens in your first 10 calls. It's about what happens in your first 100, in your first 1,000, okay? The majority don't make it to that 1,000, and that's why they sell themselves short. That is when they just step back from their full potential because they haven't given themselves the time to actually master the skill. Nothing that we dive into on our first day we're going to be good at, be it the gym, be it dancing, be it whatever, okay? Like business, cold calling, emails, you're not going to be good on the first day. So you have to understand it's a numbers game, and repetition is going to get you to the Holy Land, right? And ultimately there's just no greater illusion than fear. Fear is a complete illusion, and once you make the commitment to yourself to push through fear in every single day, and not just for cold calling, by the way, these principles, much of this, you'll be able to apply to all areas of your life. And if you're striving for greatness in anything, be it business, be it your job, be it your relationship, illusion is a fear, okay? And once we understand that, and once we push through fear a couple times, we realize that everything that we want and everything we dream of is on the other side of that fear barrier, okay? And then we realize that it's just an illusion. Okay, it is just the universe saying to us, hey, this is a challenge for you in your individual set of circumstances. For you right now, this is a challenge, okay? But a challenge is there to be overcome, okay? And therefore, it is an invisible barrier that we create among ourselves and we put among ourselves. So don't be riddled with fear. Push through this because you've got so much to gain from this. Now, a side note, you'll notice that I'm creating a Notion document right now, and I want to give you guys access to this so you can study it in your own time. To gain access to it, you need to drop a comment underneath this video, okay? Let me know what you're trying to achieve with cold calling right now, or give me your best tip for cold calling. Let's all help each other out. What is something that worked really well for you? And then also click the link in the description. You can sign up to our newsletter, and I'll make sure that you get sent this document in the first email that you receive from myself and the team. Okay, so let's move on to mindset and preparation, and we'll start off with confidence techniques. Okay, it takes a lot of confidence and it takes a lot of gut to push yourself to do something that is naturally uncomfortable to you, or something that you haven't done before. And this is the same can be true for any of you guys who have made it your first 1,000 cold calls. It's the same for those of you that have not made any cold calls yet, okay? We have to fill ourselves with confidence before we jump on the call. And I remember the most effective way for me to give myself confidence when I had my first sales job was looking at the sales leaderboard. We had a big whiteboard at the end of the office, and it had everybody's names on it. And it said how many dials people had made for that day, how many meetings they'd set, and how much revenue they'd generated as well. And for me, it was a huge boost knowing that all these other people that were just other human beings, they were just like me, okay? In some cases, I was this arrogant uni student that just left. I thought I was better than some of these people. I was like, hang on a second, if he can do that, then I know I can definitely do it. And so having that sales leaderboard really helped me, filling myself with the confidence of other people's ability, okay? I'm going to throw up some screenshots right now. These are some screenshots from our private community. These are people that I mentor. These are agency owners that I've helped. These are literally posts from people's first ever batches of cold calls, them securing meetings and making money and getting opportunity to sell, okay, getting their feet off the ground. These are people just like you, and if they can do it, you definitely can do it, okay? So if you want to come back and you want to watch this bit of video just before you start cold calling every single day, then come back and do it. Think of these guys, and remember, the only difference between them and you is they've got the confidence to get on the phone. And so this will give you it so you can get started, right? So let's get into some of the meat. So consistent practice. Consistent practice is what we need to commit to, okay? So if we're making the commitment, we've got the confidence, we need to commit to at least 30 minutes a day. Monday to Friday, 5 days a week. Minimum 30 minutes a day, that's like 10 cold calls, and along them lines between 5 and 10 cold calls. Ideally like 60 minutes a day. In fact, I'm changing this to 60 minutes a day. Anybody can do 60 minutes. You're making the commitment to yourself. 60 minutes a day, this is how we're going to make our improvement. This is how we're going to get the results. Okay, now first of all, we want to separate our feelings from our actions. It doesn't matter that you get told no. It doesn't matter if someone tells you to fuck off. It doesn't matter if someone hangs up on you. It doesn't matter if someone insults you, okay? It's not about your feelings. It's about your actions. And if you want to get the desired result, if you want to make money, if you want to get better in your career, then the only thing that's going to get you there is the action of picking up the phone and calling someone else. Your feelings and emotions do not impact this. If you allow them to, then it's going to get you in the way of picking up the phone and dialing the next person. So we have to get in the habit, and this is counterintuitive to what we are as human beings, but we have to get in the habit of separating our emotions, okay, and getting into a different mind frame completely. We can also habit stack. So habit stack, what is a habit stack? Habit stack is attaching one new habit to an existing habit that we already have. Maybe it is making your first coffee in the morning and sitting down at your desk getting ready to work. Well, if we attach the cold calling habit to that morning coffee, and we know that we're going to make our first batch of dials in the time that we've got that coffee sat in front of us, then it's a healthy habit that we've stacked up together, and it just becomes merged. It becomes much easier to introduce that. It's much harder to introduce habits if they are completely new and alien to us. I'd recommend you guys reading Atomic Habits by James Clear. Exceptional book and habit stacking is one of the things taught inside of that. This one is incredibly important. So master your script. Okay? And by master your script, I mean learn it or even get rid of it. You cannot expect to have a successful tone or have any kind of success on a cold call if you are sitting in front of a script and reading from it, because you're going to be robotic. Just imagine speaking to your friends, okay, or speaking to your girlfriend or speaking to your partner and reading off a script. What on earth is going on? You sound like a robot. Like, why are you forcing conversation through this specific narrative? That's not how you do things, okay? If you want to get something out of your partner, okay, you know the things that you need to say, but you already know them in your brain. You understand the psychology behind the words, and that's what we need to do when it comes to our script. If you learn a great script from somebody like me that's proven to work in an industry, learn it, read it, understand the reasons why you're saying the words, and the way you learn a script is by just reading it again and again. You learn one paragraph, and then you learn the next one, then you learn the next one. You just keep testing yourself through repetition. You can do this in just one evening if you give it a few hours, okay? And then when you get confident with that script, you get rid of it, you start reading from it word for word on your next calls, and then over time, you start getting rid of those words, and you start replacing them with the words that you use in your dialect. Because the truth is, the way you sound is completely different to the way I sound. You don't need a bunch of 1,000 other Jordan Plattens out there calling up people in the exact same way as me. You need James, you need Sarah, you need Beth. You guys have your own individual way of speaking and communicating with people. We need to find that way, and we need to apply it to the script by understanding the psychology behind the words and not the words themselves, okay? You do that. This was one of the key things that I did when I first started in sales. I did this within my first month, and I learned this because I used to go to drama school when I was a kid at weekends, and I knew that in order to master the role that you were playing, you have to learn your script as quickly as possible. And I did this, and within 3 months of my first ever sales job, from being that kid who's riddled with fear and all this debt, within the top 3, I was on that leaderboard at the end of the office, proudly, making as much commission as people that were twice my age. And it's because it came down to that one fundamental principle of learning my script and mastering my tonality. Okay, it's a non-negotiable. We can start off with it, but we need to get rid of that dummy ASAP. Okay, it's just a crux. So, pre-call priming process. How do we actually get started before the call? This is all the stuff that's going to prepare us to actually getting on the call. Now we're going to get into the meat of the call itself. Okay, so what do we need to do before we jump on the call itself to actually make sure we're going to have success? Well, the first thing is we have to eliminate distractions. Okay, so we want to make sure we're in a quiet room. And we don't want to be in our lounge with our kids walking around, and we certainly don't want to have our partner around listening in. We don't want the pressure, okay? Even just more than hearing people around us, we don't want the pressure of other people and therefore our perceived judgment of them on us, okay? So be in a quiet room and stay away. Just be locked up on your own in somewhere where nobody can hear you. You feel a lot more confident in that. No tabs open, or no unrelated tabs open. So if you're going through and you're calling through a lead list, then that's absolutely fine, but just have that lead list open. Don't have anything else on your screen that's going to distract you, and certainly no music. Okay, we don't want to have any music in the background. We want nothing that's going to distract us. If you can, like, have the blinds down and have the lights on so you don't get distracted by things outside either. Okay, that's kind of a bit of a pro tip. You don't really have to do that. It's kind of long term. It's if you're struggling at the start. Okay, this is a biggie. Use hands-free. Okay, use a hands-free device. Okay, so you could use AirPods or earphones or headphones. You could even use like an actual dongle, you know, whatever you prefer. If we're just sitting on our phones, okay, and we're like this, what we don't have is freedom of expression, okay? We have one hand that we can use here, but what we don't have is this. We don't have open body language. Open body language equals confidence, and that confidence in our body language comes through in our voice, okay? And tonality is everything on the phone. The only weapon we have are the words we're saying and the tone in which we express those words, okay? So being hands-free allows us to express ourselves. It makes a massive difference, okay? And it also then allows us to stand up, okay? Stand up and pace for energy. We don't want to be sitting down at our desk, okay? We want to be standing up, and I don't care if you walk around in a circle. Trust me, if you stand up and you're pacing around, you're going to be able to think much clearer, and you're taking yourself out of this hypothetical box that you're in when you're just sat at a desk. So stand up. Open your body language, pace around for energy. This is going to make a massive difference in your confidence and your ability to perform on the phone. If you're really struggling mentally, okay, and this stuff isn't helping us, or it hasn't given you that final push in order to actually get on the phones, you can use some breathing affirmations. I've used these many times, and you can go onto YouTube, you can type in breathing affirmations. I think I've actually got some videos myself, but just have a little look, and you can apply something that works for you. For me, it'd just be very simple. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, and when I'm breathing out, I'm thinking, you've got this, you're a killer, you're going to get this, you're going to secure a meeting. You know, that's what I'm doing. I'm affirming to myself, I'm giving myself this confidence. In, okay, out, I'm expelling bad energy, I'm affirming to myself, you're a killer, you're going to smash this session, okay? Trust me, you do that for a minute, 2 minutes, it's going to make a massive difference to your mental state. Even better, you could do a 5 to 10 minute meditation before your cold calling session. Again, you're just putting yourself in that state, you're eliminating the outside world that existed before this period of cold calling. No phone, you don't want to be texting anyone in between calls, and you're just getting yourself in the right mental state before. Now, final thing that you want to do is prepare notes, okay? Slash workspace. So your desk, if you are sitting at a desk, even if you're pacing around, you don't want a bunch of shit on the desk that's going to distract you. You want to make sure that you've got relevant notes, okay? Be that your script somewhere in case you need it, be that some notes on the prospect. You might have some notes on screen about the prospects, but make sure you've got notes and you've got the relevant information that you need to achieve the task at hand, okay? So, the importance of tonality. This is something I want to make sure that I really emphasize for you guys. So I've mentioned about this. In fact, this is just going to be... Okay, let's start here. 70%, I would speculate, of your first impression is tone. Okay? Literally. Like 70%, give or take, all right? Don't hold me to that one. It can even be 80%, it can be 90% some people, okay? Your tone is very important. I have listened to and coached thousands upon thousands of people on their cold calls over the years, and the majority reason why the majority of people struggle is when I listen to that call, I can hear them and like, hey, can I speak to John, please? John, can you handle more clients at the moment? Okay. This usually happens because they're reading off a script, but it also happens because they're lacking confidence in what they're actually saying, okay? And so that confidence will express over time and we'll be able to be more free with our words and be more expressive. But tone is so important. If someone's calling you up and they're like, hey, can I speak to Jordan Platten, please? You're thinking, fuck me, like, this is a cold caller, straight away, you can go away. Like, imagine if you were calling up a friend. This is the mindset we need to be in. If we're calling up a friend, how are we going to be? We're probably going to be pretty excited to speak to them, right? We're going to be excited to share with them what we have to share with them. It's exactly the same with your prospects. We need to speak to them as if we're speaking to a friend, as if we're excited to speak to them, as if we're speaking to them with intent, and we can't wait to tell them what we want to tell them. Okay, now there's a limit. You don't want to be like so over the top that you're really cringy. But imagine you're speaking to a friend. Put yourself in that mindset. Okay? I'm calling this guy, I'm calling this lady because I need to tell them about this thing. Like, they're going to absolutely love it. Okay, so it's passion and authenticity. That's what we're looking for. These are the two main words that we want to be thinking about when we're thinking about our tonality. Do I sound passionate and do I sound authentic? Okay? Am I being authentic to myself? Do I genuinely want to help this person when I'm speaking to them? Very easy way to get passion across is by what's called smiling with dialing, or smile while dial. Okay, so if I just role play this with you, imagine if I've got an opening line. I'm saying to the prospect, can you handle more clients at the moment? Okay, my tone is relatively low, but if I can raise my tone, I can raise my passion without smiling. I'm going to say, can you handle more clients at the moment? Okay, it's kind of felt forced. If I smile and say, can you handle more clients at the moment? Can you handle more clients right now? It's much easier to raise the level of my tone and therefore sound more passionate. Okay, so smile whilst dial. Do this with every single person you're speaking to. You'll notice on any of my live cold calling videos that you've seen on YouTube, if you haven't watched them, go and watch them after this. You'll notice I'm smiling all the time. Okay, it helps massively. This is the one that's really hard for me, that it took me a while to get hold of, and that is speaking slowly. This is one for authenticity. Okay, speak slowly and confidently. Okay. If we speak slowly, okay, then what it allows us to do is build more trust with the prospect. If we speak really quickly, and I do speak very quickly, but I speak with passion, and so I pull it off, okay, because I can't wait to tell you the thing, because if not, this video is going to be 5 hours long, and you'll have to watch it on 1.2 speed. So I speak very quickly to get it all out, because I'm passionate about the thing I'm talking to you about, which is why I pull it off. Most people speak really quickly on cold calls because they are scared. Okay, they're in a fearful mindset, so they just want to blurt it all out. Hey, can you handle more clients per month? Hey, my name's Jordan. Are you running Facebook ads right now? So slow it down, speak more confidently, okay, and think about the words that you are saying. And if we slow down, then it's going to ooze confidence on the phone itself. Okay, so we're smart, we speak slowly, we speak with confidence. This is how we make sure our tone is going to be good. Okay, and you're going to improve this over time. Now, the final thing I would say is about using downtones. And we want to use downtones for statements. We don't always want to be speaking smiley, high tone. We do want to use our tone to our advantage to make impactful statements. Let's say we're doing a client acquisition call and the prospect has stated to us that they want to make more money, they can handle more clients at the moment, and we want to reaffirm that to them. So instead of us saying to them, so you're struggling with client acquisition at the moment, that sounded weird. We would say, so you've got a client acquisition problem right now. Okay, and we're lowering the tone then. We're making it a lot more serious, which means the prospect then feels more serious about the thing we're talking about, and it is a serious situation. We want them to be thinking about that issue and thinking, yes, I do actually have this problem. What does this guy have to say? Can he solve that problem for me? Okay, so use downtones and understand when. So, opening technique. Let's do it. So, we've picked up the phone. We're speaking to someone. Who's the first person we're going to speak to? Okay, is it going to be the decision maker? No, it's likely going to be the gatekeeper. So we need to get past the gatekeeper. I could record an entire video on most of this stuff. I could speak for hours about getting past the gatekeeper. And the gatekeeper can be your best friend, it can also be your worst enemy, quite literally. And the worst thing that you could do when speaking to a gatekeeper is be rude. Because that gatekeeper has the ability, and the gatekeeper is like a receptionist or someone who is gatekeeping the decision maker. It's someone whose job is quite literally to stop you getting through to them. And if you're rude to that individual, they're going to stop you getting through to them. And believe me, I've been in that position and it is a pain in the ass and it is a nightmare. Okay, and it's really just going to stunt you. In some cases, you'll never get hold of that prospect again. One of the keys to getting through to gatekeeper is you want to assume familiarity. When you're calling up the business owner, okay, think about what is the most likely situation in which you're going to be able to be put through to that person straight away. If the gatekeeper feels like they're getting in the way of the right people getting hold of the decision maker. Okay, so how do we do that? Let's pretend we're a friend. Okay, let's speak as if we're a friend. Okay, so instead of calling up and say, hey, can I speak to Mr. Johnson, please? Or hey, can you put me through to James Johnson, please? Okay, we wouldn't do that if we were speaking to a friend, would we? It'd just be weird. So we'd say, hey, can you pop me through to James, please? Or hey, Sarah, can you pop me through to James? We're assuming familiarity, we're speaking with confidence, we're being assertive and directive, and therefore our likelihood of being put through to the decision maker is a lot higher. Okay? So that's one thing. We always want to be assuming familiarity. We want to be beautifully vague in the things that we say. So we don't want to give all of the information. We never want to pitch the gatekeeper. Okay, if the gatekeeper says, what is it regarding? Say, oh, John will know what it's regarding. Some gatekeepers are really good. And we're like, yeah, okay, that's not good enough. I want to know. And they'll be like, well, it's a little bit complex for me to explain right now. Could you put me through to John? Okay, we can move around it. There are really a bunch of other things. We could sit here for ages on what happens if we keep pressing that. And yeah, if you want me to talk about it in the future, drop a comment down below. Maybe we'll record another video on gatekeepers in the future. Now, what most people don't understand about gatekeepers is whilst they can make your life hell, they can also be the catalyst that gets you in front of the right person. They can be the reason. They can do you a solid. Okay, so much so that I once got hold of the creative director of Universal Studios via cold calling because the gatekeeper made it easier for me to get hold of said person. So I'll take you back to my first ever sales job again. I was selling advertisement packages to conglomerates, and I was tasked to see if, and there was a big bonus on the line for this, if I could get hold of the creative director of Universal Studios to sell him an editorial, physically meet with him in person, and then interview him for this editorial, okay? And so, over the course of weeks and weeks, I located his office on LinkedIn, and I spoke to his gatekeeper. And I called about, well, his gatekeeper, his receptionist, I should say. And to get a hold of that receptionist, you have to get past another receptionist as well, okay? So the gatekeeper is gatekeeped by another gatekeeper. So I called up, every couple of days I called up, every 2 to 3 days generally is what I recommend for following up. Okay? And I did this over the course of weeks and weeks and weeks. Until I got to the point where I was like, I'm not going to be able to get hold of this guy. I'm wasting my time speaking to this gatekeeper. I knew her by first name, and I just couldn't get hold of him. And so I said to myself, why don't you just be transparent and say that you're going to keep calling up Sarah. Sarah, I'm going to keep calling you up every single week. I'm going to keep calling you up multiple times a week until I get hold of George. I only need to reach George for 10 minutes. Trust me, what I need to speak to George about is really, truly worth his time. I want to interview him and give him a bunch more exposure. So I gave a very, very simple, brief value proposition to Sarah. Now, Sarah said to me, Jordan, look, I get you've called me up so many times. I could probably get you 10 minutes with George, but don't screw this up. Don't waste his time. I'm giving you something here. But I don't want you to keep calling up the office. So I'm going to arrange this. Can you speak on this day, on this time? Because he's usually going to be coming back from blah, blah, blah. I arranged that meeting, had the call with George. It went really well. He really liked what I had to offer him. He flew me to Dubai, okay, to see the new build of Universal Studios when it was being built in Dubai, and I interviewed him in person. Now, that is a true story. You can go and you can see, in fact, I'll throw it up right now. He gave me an endorsement on LinkedIn after us working together. And I got hold of that relationship, and I got hold of George, and that job that literally made me tens of thousands in commission, over 10K, my first ever over 10K, one project commission in my first ever sales job. And I got that through cold calling and being persistent with the gatekeeper and building a relationship with them over time. That is a senior director in Universal Studios. And you're complaining and get hold of your local dentistry. Yeah, I can't get hold of the dentist down the road. It's because you're not building a relationship with the gatekeepers, you're not being persistent, you're not following up enough. Not all of you, but you know, there's one of you right now, there's a few of you watching this right now thinking, yeah, I can relate with that. You can get hold of anyone if you're persistent enough, okay, and you're consistent enough. Okay, let's get back to it. So what else? We need an opening. So we got past the gatekeeper. What do we need to do? What is the first thing that we're going to say? I mean, the first thing we want to do is validate we're speaking to the right person. Okay, am I speaking to John? Yes, cool. Sometimes you get put through to a different person, they just like fob you off. So we want to make sure we're speaking to the right person, we don't waste our time pitching the wrong person. Okay, and then we have different openers. And the truth is there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, well there definitely are thousands of different openers that you could use, depending on your needs, depending on your service, in order to get a permissive yes in order to progress forward and give our value proposition. Okay, so let's just start with position opener first. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. So a good position opener would be something like, have I caught you in the middle of something? Okay? So saying, have I caught you in the middle of something? Now what this does, because this is a question they're not expecting, because usually cold callers don't care about wasting people's time, is it shows a lot of respect. And lots of the time they will say, yeah, you have, I'm busy right now, what is up? Okay, and then you can say, look, I'm not going to waste your time, I just need 20 seconds right now. Okay, along those lines. But we're getting permission for us to proceed. What I really hate is the opener of like, this is a cold call. Do you want to hang up now or give me 30 seconds of your time? Because that just starts you off on the bottom foot. We want to be speaking with authority. We don't want to be coming from like this low level kind of position. Okay, so that does work for some people. I really don't like that. I think the framing is kind of all wrong. We can do a location opener. Are you still based on X road, for example? We can say that. Okay, so it's just a conversation start. Are you still based on Borough Road? Yeah, I am. Awesome. Are you taking on clients right now? Okay, desire opener. So this would be something like, well, it could be like, are you taking on new clients right now? Actually, what I would recommend more than are you taking on is, could you handle new clients right now? Instead of saying, can you take on, which sounds like we're going to offer them clients, could you handle is like, they're going to be like, well, of course we can handle. They're going to tell you the truth. If you say, can you take on, they might say, oh, no, we're busy. They're trying to get rid of you. But could you handle, it feeds into their ego. You're more likely to get a genuine response from that. Okay? We could say something like, are you getting more than 20 inquiries per month right now? Or are you getting more than 20 new clients per month right now? This is like arbitrary, whatever you want it to be, whatever's relevant to you. Okay, so this is our opener. We're just basically getting started with the conversation. We're giving them, we are leading with curiosity. We want this to be a curiosity spiking question that opens up communication for us to lead into a statement of value. Okay, our value proposition. And that's what we're now going to move on to. Okay, so how can we propose value, okay, to people? Now, the biggest mistake that I see people make is when they get a hold of someone on the phone and they have the opportunity to speak to them. They've gone through the opener and it's like, yes, cool, proceed. They start talking about their features, okay? So let's say you're an advertising agency. And you offer meta ads. Meta ads is the vehicle, it's the feature, it's the thing that you use in order to get more clients. You start talking about meta ads straight away. Okay, we'd love to run you some meta ads because you're not running them at the moment, or we'd love to use meta ads to get you more clients at the moment. Okay, now that might be relevant if the client asks you for what the mechanism, what the vehicle is. But the true desire, the client actually doesn't care about what the feature is and what the mechanism is. The client cares about the result. And so all you should be speaking about is the result, which is getting more clients, making more money, whatever that is. Okay, getting more exposure, improving your image, building a new website, whatever that looks like. Okay, so focus on problems you solve, not features of service. Okay, what are the problems you solve, not the features? You want to get asked for the features. You never want to tell someone the features. You want them to ask you about the features, because then they're in a place of curiosity. Then they're actually showing interest in the problem that you solve. Okay, you can use customer voice. This is a really nice strategy. So you can use a customer voice. So you can say, you can speak in the voice of a client. So you can speak for others' experience. So we just got John from, and this is their competitor. So we just got John from John's Steakhouse, 50 new clients last month. And we're looking to take on another client in Norwich, in location. And I think you guys will be perfect for it. Okay, so that could be a value proposition or a value statement. Okay, we just did this for this John. John said this about us. You could add. We got this such a great result. We want to take on a new client in your area, and we think you could beat them. That's a whole thing. There's scarcity in there. There's curiosity. There's the law of comparison, because we're comparing them to a competitor, and they're like, oh shit, I didn't know he was doing this thing now. He's running these ads. I need that. So we use customer voice. So experience of others. In other words, case studies. Okay? Or comparison, whatever you want to call it. We're basically trying to explain why we are calling without pitching. So we're trying to create intrigue. We're stating the reason why we're calling. We want to help you get more clients. We want to help you achieve X, Y, Z without actually pitching the service that we've got, without going through the mechanics. We never want to be caught up in pitching. If somebody says to us, okay, what have you got? What is the pricing? So on and so forth. We could say something like, I love your enthusiasm, John, but I've got a few questions about you guys before I can give you that answer. What we're doing then is we're not getting into a pitch war, okay? We are then stating and building authority in our process. Okay, I've got some questions to ask you. We're controlling the frame. And then what you then lead on to say is, in fact, I would love to get 20 minutes in over the next couple of days. Are you free tomorrow? And so then we divert the conversation onto the true purpose, which is getting a meeting booked in with them. We don't want to get caught up on pitching on the phone. You're going to be unprepared. You're going to screw it up. And rarely are you ever going to be able to convert someone like that. Okay, your conversion rate is going to be really low. But we want to make sure that in all instances, we get straight to the point. Okay, we don't want to waste time. Never want to waste time. Never want to fluff. Never want to be talking for any more than like 10 seconds maximum. Okay, straight to the point. Say the least words possible to get the point across all the time. Okay, time is of the essence. With every additional word that we hang up on, we're risking us losing the attention of the person that we're speaking to. Okay, so always get straight to the point with our value proposition. Cool. So we've gained a bit of interest. They're keen to speak to us. They've shown some kind of indication that they want to hear more. Okay, they're like, oh, this is interesting, or yes, I can handle more clients. Okay, whatever. What do we do now? Well, we want to create open dialogue. So we can ask open-ended questions. And this also depends on your pitch. Some pitches don't require this. If it's a very simple service, just like a client acquisition service, and it's like paid ads, if they show interest at this stage with your opener, okay, and you've given them a bit of a value proposition, they've shown interest at that point, go straight in with the meeting, okay? Go straight in. Some of you will offer a more complex service where you'll actually want to do a little bit of qualification on the call itself. If you're doing that qualification, this is when we use this stage, okay, creating dialogue, okay? So we're going to ask open-ended questions only. Okay? And what I mean by that is we're not giving yes-no questions. Okay? It's not, if we're trying to understand, if we're trying to qualify a prospect, okay, let's say it's important to us to understand what, whether or not they're already running ads, okay, on social media. Instead of us saying, are you running Facebook ads right now? We could say, can you give me an idea of your current marketing strategy? Because then it's open, or what would you say is the biggest problem with your current marketing strategy? Now that's open-ended and they're free to speak. If it's yes, no, then we are controlling the narrative of the conversation, and that's not good if we're trying to qualify the prospect, okay? We do want to practice active listening. Active listening techniques, okay? These are very simple on the phone. We're very limited on the phone with what we can do in active listening. Active listening is basically just us showing the prospect that we are listening to them. So on the phone, that might just be simple, okay? Makes sense? Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. And then when they finish speaking, we repeat back something they said. Oh, so you're struggling to get clients right now. That's very interesting because I noticed, you know, we're reaffirming, we're mirroring the things that they are saying. Okay, those are some of the ways that we can practice active listening. But even just in yourself getting in the habit, you don't want to fake this. It needs to actually be real. Like, some salespeople will fake active listening because they're terrible listeners. The best salespeople are the best listeners because they understand the problems that the client is facing, and therefore the solutions they provide are bespoke to the individual because they actually care about the problems that they're facing. Okay, so we want to genuinely be in a place where we're trying to listen. We actively care about what they're saying, and if we are genuinely doing that in normal conversation, we're going to do all those things. We're going to nod, we're going to affirm, we're going to repeat them back. We're going to make sure that they feel heard. Okay, that is quite hard on a cold call compared to a in-person presence and compared to a Zoom call, for example, when we're selling. Okay, but we have to do it. They need to feel like they're being listened to, and it's not just we're taking them through this process and a script. Okay, and we want to sprint to the first objection. So if you find that with your prospects you're always getting kind of a main objection, okay, there's a big objection that you always face on the sales call that's always stumping you, sprint to that as soon as possible. Ask a question that gets straight through to that point, okay, and brings that objection up to the individual. Okay, they might say to you, I tried Facebook ads before and they don't work. And so I completely understand why you would think that. I noticed that you tried to run ads in the past, but actually the reason why they didn't work was X, Y, Z for you. Okay. Or we've worked with an agency before and they didn't get us any results. We don't want to work with agency. I completely understand how you feel. I feel exactly the same. And it's very frustrating for me that other agencies out there are damaging the reputation of us. But what I can assure you is X, Y, Z. Okay? Get to that objection. Okay? We might ask them that. Have you worked with an agency before? I noticed you tried to run ads before. How did that go? And we want them to say it was shit. It didn't work. Facebook ads don't work. Then we handle that objection before it gets to the sales call. So we want to sprint to the first and main objection. And again, this is kind of not so relevant to every single cold call. I would say this is mainly relevant to those of you that have a service where you are getting the same objections again and again, or you speculate that there might be an issue with the prospect and therefore you want to qualify them on something. Yeah, you won't always have to do this. But broadly speaking, as a broad rule in sales, you want to get objection handling out way before sales, the actual close. You don't want to state your price and then have to go through all the objection handling then. Ideally, there's only going to be 1 or 2 objection handles after the price itself and after you've stated the offer, okay? You're always going to get some kind of objections, not always, some prospects won't, but the majority will give you objections, and there is a saying in sales that this sale doesn't start until the first objection. We want to be smashing objections throughout the entire sales process, from the cold call to the discovery stage to when we present our offer, and then of course when we give the price. But we want to get rid of as many as possible, so by the time we get to the price and the offer, the prospect really has no other thing to say apart from yes, because all of the problems, all of the hurdles in their head have already been overcome by you throughout this entire process. Talking of objection handling, let's touch on that a little bit. It's kind of a little bit like the gatekeeper situation, in the sense that I'm conscious that I'm already been recording for about 40 minutes right now, and so I could talk about objection handling for hours and hours and hours. In fact, I've got a massive training section inside of our program, inside of our academy, where I have a huge list of objection handles. Okay, so every possible objection handle you could get as an agency owner, I've got a massive list, and you can bat it back, everything that you need to say, so you've got ultimate confidence of objection handling. The general framework for objection handling is agree, okay, so agree with what they say, don't discount what they say, but then offer a different perspective. Okay, so never say they're wrong, agree with them. I understand why you feel that way. Yeah, I would probably feel the same as well, but, okay, and then offer them a different perspective. What we're trying to do is turn objections into conversations. What we're trying to do is we're changing the narrative in which someone exists. They genuinely believe, you've got to remember, they're not just giving you an objection for the sake of it. They genuinely believe the thing that they're saying to you. And even if you believe that thing to be wrong, the worst thing that you can do is ever tell somebody they're wrong. If you want to change someone's mindset surrounding something, I mean, all of us have done this right with our partners, okay? Your partner come up to you and they believe one thing firmly to be true and you believe another thing to be true. If you tell them they're wrong, oh shit! No, that's not what we do, okay? We've got to make sure that we come from that, from a place of understanding, first of all. I understand why you feel this way. Look, calm down. I understand why you feel that way. I probably feel the same way. But people want to feel understood. It's exactly the same with objections. If you tell them they're wrong, they're going to get defensive and they're going to stand firmer on that point, even if they themselves come to realize that they're actually wrong. They're still going to stand firm because their ego will be getting in the way. Let's go through an example. Let's do like a not interested objection. There are a number of different ways to handle a not interested objection. It's probably the most common objection and the one that people stump over. They're like, oh, okay, all right, bye. But you need to find out what they're actually not interested in. I'm not interested, Jordan. Not interested in what? Oh, I'm not in whatever you're offering right now. Or what am I offering to you? Oh, some service to get us more clients. Oh, so you're not interested in growing your business. That's a statement. And then we're down with the down tonality. Oh, so you're not interested in growing your business? Well, no, we are interested in growing our business, but... And then we can start having a conversation. And we can start... Imagine like a knot. It's like a knot, this objection. And we're just slowly trying to unravel it until it's very clear, until in the prospect's mind they have nothing else to say other than, okay, maybe I'm being silly, yes, let's talk about it. Another thing that I like to say when someone says I'm not interested, well, especially if it's a cold calling stage, of course you're not interested. You've only known me for 20 seconds, John. Of course you're not interested. You haven't even heard what I've got for you yet. Okay, why don't we just spend 15 minutes together? I can lay all cards on the table. I'm going to give you X, Y, Z, free value. What have you got to lose? So we rationalise it. Of course you're not interested. I wouldn't be interested either. You've only known me for 20 seconds. Why don't we just spend 15 minutes and then we can really figure out if you're interested. We're unravelling that knot. We're opening up conversation. We're agreeing with them. We're offering a different perspective. So, we got past that. We now are going to secure a meeting. How do we do it? What's the situation? Well, I just highlighted something which is probably better here. We're going to lead with value. There needs to be something that we're going to be giving the prospect on that call. There's a reason for them to have a meeting with us, and that reason is definitely not for us to pitch them. The reason is not for us to make money from them. The reason for us is to give them something which is valuable. If we're an ad agency, then we might be sharing some ideas with them. We've got a strategy for them. I had a couple of ideas for you that I really want to share with you. If you like, you can run away with them yourself. You can implement them on your own. There's a value proposition there where there's something to gain from the meeting itself. So you have to think about that with your offer. What are you actually going to gain? You might be a web agency. I'd love to give you a free audit on this call. I've got some ideas on your website. I'd love to share them with you. You can go and implement it yourself or even show you how if you like. You know, where's the free value? What reason have they got to have a meeting with you other than getting pitched? And once we've got them agreed, we want to set the date ASAP. So many people make the mistake of booking in a date like 7 days in advance. You want that call to be like tomorrow or the day afterwards. It is like ASAP. With every additional day, your show up rate is going to decrease and the prospect will get colder and colder. So they will be losing interest with every single additional day. So we want to set that date as soon as possible. And if we need to use a hard close, then use a hard close. Okay? Now, a hard close, it's not really a hard close. Because a hard close, an example would be if someone says, I haven't really got time at the moment, I don't really want this meeting. John, I understand you're busy, we all are. But I've got some ideas that I've already used for one of your competitors that's generated over 20 grand in new revenue last month. I want to share those ideas with you for free. You can go and implement them yourself. So, how about that 15 minutes? Use your tonality, use the hard close when you need it. And the hard close really is a soft close. What we're trying to do is make them realize there's a lot of value to be gained. And we're like, what have you got to lose here? A little bit of time, but look at this contrasting value from that time. What have you got to lose? But actually more importantly, what have you got to gain? You can use this kind of principle when somebody's like objecting you very early. So even just right at the start of the call, if you say, are you free right now? And be like, no, I haven't got time for this. And be like, well, just before we hang up, John, I literally only want 20 seconds of your time. You're really going to want to hear what I've got to say to you. Intrigue. Oh, I'll just give him 20 minutes of my time, 20 seconds of my time. Okay, so jump in there, just cut through the noise. No, look, whoa. Before you hang up, look, I know you haven't spoken to me before, but you're really going to want to hear what I've got for you. Send a calendar invite on the phone. If you're on your computer, if you've got access to your desk, send a calendar invite on the phone. Make sure you get their email address and their phone number. Okay, don't just take the email address. Make sure you take their mobile number as well. Okay, so email and mobile. Okay, so if you struggle to get hold of them, you've got their mobile number, you're going to be able to contact them again. You can add that, you can just say you're going to add it to the calendar invite. Are you at your desk at the moment? Can you check whether you received that invite? Awesome. If you hit yes to it, then it will make sure that you get a notification about that meeting when it comes up. Okay, so we want to reaffirm it, we want to send it on the phone when we can. You won't be able to do that in all circumstances. But the broad rule is if a prospect is interested or has shown any kind of interest, never leave the call without a meeting booked. Even if they're like, I haven't got the time to speak right now, be like, awesome, I completely understand, when is the right time for us to speak? Let's book in a slot. So if you can afford to, never leave a call without another meeting booked, never leave a call without collecting an email address or a mobile number, getting some kind of details. You want to extract something from that prospect. You don't know if you'll ever be able to get hold of them again. So we want to just get some kind of level of intent from the prospect. That is very, very, very key. Cool. So the final thing is how to improve daily. How are we going to improve this skill every single day? We're going to apply everything that we've learned today. We're going to start making our first calls and you're going to make the commitment to go out there and you're going to make your first calls today or tomorrow. How do we improve daily if we screw up, if things don't go to plan? Okay. The single most important thing that you can do, the most valuable thing that you can do is record your calls and analyze them. Okay. This was so valuable for me in my early stages of cold calling. Having my line manager listen to my calls and critique them and being open to his critique was just incredible. You should watch some of the videos on my channel from recent where I've critiqued some sales calls from members of our community. These sales calls, the critique and the feedback on those has a massive impact on the results of the person that's receiving it and had a massive impact on me as I grew and scaled. Now, you can even analyze your own calls. Okay, and you can give yourself feedback by listening to that call, and you understand when you start cringing, and you understand that where there's friction, and you'll be able to identify yourself and dedicate the time every week to doing this. Like, let's say even if it's 5-10 calls, you'll be able to identify yourself the areas that you need to improve. But even better if you're having a sensei do that for you. If you're having a master of calls do it for you. Okay. So ideally you want, it's going to be yourself, in order of least priority, yourself, a peer, and then a master, a mentor. Okay, if you get yourself a mentor, you're going to move forward so much quicker. Like the guys that I've already shown you, that I threw up on the screen, those guys have been mentored by me. They progress so quickly because they have someone critiquing them, they have the right training, they have the right frameworks, because I've made tens of thousands of calls myself. Okay, another thing you can do is role play with peers, okay, or better, a mentor, again. So if you have a mentor that works with you one-on-one, this is one of the main reasons that we do one-to-one mentorship inside of our program. We one-to-one mentor people for 90 days every single week, and what this allows us to do is we can role play if we need to, we can listen to calls if we need to, but we can give the direct feedback when you actively need it. Now you can do this with your peers, of course, as well. You can set up a scenario. Oh, I'm an agency offering this service, or I'm a business offering this service, this kind of person. One person pretends to be the prospect, one person pretends to be the business or the caller, and you can role play through those scenarios. This massively helps, and it also really helps to role play through different scenarios and not just your individual position, because it allows you to start thinking of things as like a salesperson. I genuinely believe that I could go and I could sell any product or service and have a really great close rate, okay, or I could cold call for any business and have a really good meeting set rate, because I understand the fundamentals of cold calling. It's not limited to who I am and the service that I sell and the products that I have to offer to my individual prospects and ideal customer. I understand it on such a deep psychological level that I can apply it to anything, because I've done a lot of role plays, okay, and I've had a lot of experience over time. And finally, we have to test, we have to test, and we have to test. Test new openers, test new hooks, test new value propositions, test new prospects and niches. We are going to test until we find the sweet spot. And the only way we can effectively test is by tracking, okay, using data. Every single call that you make and every single day, you should be tracking the outcome of that call. If you made 20 calls today, you should know exactly what your meeting set rate was from those 20 calls. You should have a deep understanding of how many prospects you managed to speak to, so how many gatekeepers you got past, how many people picked up the phone, and this is going to help you identify at every stage of the cold call which area you need to improve on. In fact, there are over 5 data points that we have our mentees tracking on their cold calls, so we can identify and pinpoint the specific point of issue on the call itself. Data is absolutely everything. Don't fall into the habit of forgetting to track, because you could have made 1,000 calls and you will make improvements. You are going to get better and better through just repetition of doing the calls. But if you make 1,000 calls and track all of the data, what you're going to be able to do is manipulate your learning so you can focus your energy and attention into what the numbers are actually telling you. And as we've established, sales is a numbers game. The more you call, the more money you're going to make, the better you're going to improve. This is a skill set that will apply to every single thing you touch in life. Cold calling is a fundamental communication sales skill. Sales and communication are the 2 most valuable skills on the planet. They allow you to build incredible relationships with people, and sales allows you to make money. What more could you want? You learn this, you apply this, you use it for yourself, you push through your fear of failure, and you will set an infinite amount more meetings than you are at the moment in your business. Peace and love. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers.